Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode 105. Hello, our Croissant podcast. Can't I Pimp? My name's Gareth Evans. Joining me today is Mr. Henry. I've been sunning it up all weekend and I've burnt myself. Cooper.
It's been hot. It has been hot. Went away for the weekend with my girlfriend. It was lovely.
You got some daylight. You got some sunshine.
I know. It is hard to believe. Even with a window right here.
You might have to explain that concept to some of our gamer friends.
Well, so outside there's a great big fiery red thing called the sun. But I'm actually not going to sell it very well because I got burned. So that's going to put people off going out into the sun.
Yeah, stay away from that fucker, yeah. Close your windows.
I tan very easily, so I burn a little bit and then it turns into a tan. But I've got a few little... You might be able to see I've got a nice tan line there. You can see that it's beautiful. Like pale. And then that's a nice watch line.
British tan, that is.
Yeah, classic. I don't quite have the t-shirt line so much, which is a bit of a shame. The classic...
the classic British tee.
Brit abroad thing.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who haven't guessed already, summer has arrived in Britain, in England.
Literally over the weekend.
I mean, that's it. Summer. I guess spring has arrived. I don't know what that noise is. We've had shitty weather this last 2-3 months, and eventually the sun came out for one day, and Henry got burnt. It wasn't exactly one day.
It was more than one day. It was the whole weekend. And well, I mean, to be fair, I was, hiking up a mountain, so we were a little bit closer to the sun as well. And I just wasn't at all prepared for that sort of weather. But I don't think that's wrong. We're in the bloody UK. It never happens.
We worship the sun. We always moan about the weather. And when it comes out, it's like, it's too bloody hot now.
You keep moaning. Exactly. You cannot win here. But it's just who we are as people. Then they're like, oh, should we go and get a coffee? I don't drink coffee anyway. But who the hell wants a hot drink on a day like that? That really... It pissed me off. I'll say it. Hanging out with my girlfriend and her parents. I'm like, let's go get a coffee. I'm like, what? Who the fuck wants a coffee in 20-degree heat? I just don't get it.
Yeah, some people say, oh, it cools you down. And that is just the worst.
It pisses me off.
How can putting something hot inside your body cool you down? That is against all of science and all known knowledge. That's just ridiculous. That's just justification for doing something stupid, which is drinking a hot drink on a hot day.
I mean, do you. If you want to put tea or coffee inside you on a roasting hot day, that's fine. Just know, I think it's absurd.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so touching on some of the subjects we're going to be covering in today's podcast, we've got some Sony. Sony has been busy this last week. So we've got a whole bunch of PlayStation Sony related stuff. I've got something short about CDPR and their painful numbers. After that, quiz of the week, Discord questions, the not sure what the fuck this comment of the week, followed by other top YouTube comments of the week, and then the bad dad joke of the week to finish off. So, should we jump straight in? What have you been doing other than that? I've still been playing Divinity Original Sin 2. I've been smashing that. I'm up to almost 50 hours now. You ended up buying it, but you haven't played it yet.
Yeah, you sent me that Steam were running a sale. It was like 12 quid, I think, while I was on the way to this little weekend away. So I was like, why not? I'll grab that. So that's installed, ready to go. I've not played it yet, but I am looking forward to that. I've just been tarting about in Days Gone, taking it easy, riding the broken road, as they like to say in that game. But it's just good. It's a game I like. And a lot of people don't, and that's fine. But it's
we'll get on to Days Gone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come on to that.
We'll come into that because Sony Band are one of the talking points in today's Sony Bits segment.
We might as well jump off with that one.
Let's jump in.
So there's an interview with Herman Hulst, which we'll get to, and he dropped a few tidbits about things, including something about Sony Bend.
Sorry, he's the PlayStation boss, right?
He's the what's his title? Head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios. So he is quite a big deal. Formerly the boss of Guerrilla Games, which did Horizon and one of the... Is it Resistance? Is that the one they did? Anyway, used to do that. Now he's the big boss. And he dropped a couple of tidbits in this interview, but then some have been elaborated on by the companies involved. So the first one might as well go with is Sony Bend have officially announced they're doing a brand new IP, because a while ago they said that a Days Gone sequel hasn't been cancelled, so to speak. They didn't use that word, but has been not pursued by Sony at this time. It may show up at some point, but not right now.
Very diplomatic way of putting it. Is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not cancelling it. We're just not doing it.
We're pursuing different avenues. Sony Bend are doing a new IP. Their statement on Twitter reads as follows: "We are beyond grateful for your support with Days Gone and are truly honoured by the amount of passion our community has shared with us for our world and characters. Your enthusiasm motivates us to continue to improve and create experiences that will last a lifetime. From the Siphon Filter series to Resistance Retribution to Uncharted Golden Abyss and Days Gone, we are very excited to announce today that we are expanding the Bend Studio portfolio with a brand new IP. So it says today, and at the time of recording, it is Thursday, and I believe it was yesterday, or the 2nd of June. So bear that in mind. We hope you embark on this journey with us, and we can't wait to show you what we've been working on, Bend Studio." And pretty much all of the comments are like, "Yeah, this is cool, but where's Days Gone 2?" Which, I mean, they're going to get for a long time now. But again, Days Gone 2 is not. It's not definitely not happening, but it's not happening right now.
No. But this is good news for people who are fans of the studio. Obviously, John Garvin, who was the lead writer and one of the leads on Days Gone, has gone, departed from the studio, so he's no longer there. So Days Gone 2, we talked about this in the past.
It's not the same game anyway.
It wouldn't be written by the same guy. This is a whole new IP, which is exciting. I mean,
new IPs are always good.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it.
Games, but always good to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, they did the Siphon Filter series, didn't they?
Yep.
And Days Gone. A lot of good memories of those games myself. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do, whether it's an open world game or not. I don't know. It's under the PlayStation brand, so you can guarantee it's going to be a single player narrative driven game. And third person action probably.
Yeah, presumably.
More than likely, ticking all the PlayStation boxes. Outside of that, we've got no idea what the world's going to be, what the gameplay is going to be like, or anything. So
yeah, Herman Hulst does drop a little tiny tidbit, but we'll get onto that. Do you think, this is just a minor talking point before we move on, do you think there's a chance we'll see anything about whatever this new IP is from Sony in the coming weeks? Because it's E3 season pretty much now until the end of the month. There'll be different streams and showcases on and off. Do you think Sony's going to show whatever this new IP is? Because they have just announced it, so it seems like maybe that could be the perfect time.
Yeah, exactly. I think the timing could be good on this, considering Days Gone has been out for a while now. So we're in a new IP you're expecting 3 to 5 years, depending on what technology they're carrying over from the previous game. So if they've got engine and stuff already in place, then I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. I don't how AAA games are made these days with the high graphical fidelity. You're looking at the longer time frame in that kind of bracket. But it would be a good time considering they've just announced that it's not a Days Gone to the public.
Yes.
This is a big announcement. There's a lot of things that we haven't gone through yet, but PlayStation have been busy basically laying the groundwork, the way I see it, laying the groundwork for what they're going to be showing off in a couple of weeks, because E3 is a week and a half away, or maybe a week away by the time you're watching this. So this is just the groundwork. This is PR groundwork as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully they will come up with a little teaser at least of what they've been working on.
Yeah, just like a name or a logo to say what this mystery game is.
Yeah.
So the other, I guess, kind of major announcement, but major in the sense is it's kind of a big deal for Sony, but not major in the sense that I don't think there's a single person who would be surprised by this news at all. God of War has been officially delayed until 2022. It didn't really have much of a release date before. It was just some point in 2021.
Wow.
And now we are
a surprise.
6 months into it, and they're like, we've got 6 months left. It's not happening. We're going to push it to next year.
That is a shocker, that one. Wow.
I mean, I've only been saying it since day one, but and just to get a head up top, delays are always good. I'd rather have the game delayed and be in a better state than have it early and it be a bunch of trash, because I feel like you have to say that every single time now.
Yeah.
So their statement on Twitter reads as follows. Since the release of the next God of War Since the release of the next God of War, I guess was teased last year, I think I've transcribed that wrong, was teased last year, we've been humbled by the amount of love our community has shown. We're incredibly grateful to see so many people excited to experience the next chapter of Kratos and Atreus' journey. Just a quick note. I like that that's a key point, that it is both of them still, because the boy who is the biggest gamble of the first game. Like, if you don't like him, you're going to hate the whole game. So I like that they're making sure that's front and center. We remain focused on delivering a top quality game while maintaining a safety and well-being of our... I've typed this out really poorly. Maintaining the safety and well-being of our team, creative partners, and families. With this in mind, we've made the decision to shift our release window to 2022. So another vague window. At some point in the next 18 months, the game should be out. Thank you for your continued support. We've got some exciting things in the works that we can't wait to show you. Santa Monica Studio. So again, to link it back to the E3 thing, do you think maybe they'll show something of this game at this upcoming E3 season, or something else from Sony Santa Monica? Because I think there's different... even reports is kind of a bit overzealous. Rumblings that the Santa Monica are doing a separate game in addition to God of War. So they're doing two games at once. The other one being a brand new thing. So potentially with Cory Barlog leading that one rather than leading God of War. Do you think we'll see anything from Santa Monica in the coming weeks?
God of War. It would be easy to just throw together some sort of trailer.
Some CG necessarily
thing. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be gameplay. It's not exactly what we'd want from.
Yeah, I'd rather not. I'd rather see nothing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's it. I don't want them diverting resources from their game making. The time making the game to make a gameplay trailer, whatever, or just to put a presentation together, a la Cyberpunk or whatever. That ends up being almost completely fake. But focus your efforts, get the game out is the main thing. Yeah, it'll sell itself. You don't have to market it yet. Yeah. Just keep your heads down, get the work done. Show it when it's ready.
So now I'm just gonna pop through this Herman Holst interview. Excuse me. It's so to reiterate, Herman Holst is the big boss of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, and this was a Q&A with Sid Schumann, who is Senior Director of SIE Content Communication. It was a extract of a podcast. The full podcast is about an hour and 14 minutes long. This conversation lasts about 20 minutes, but there is a transcribed version on the PlayStation blog, which is a bit more digestible and a bit more succinct. But before I begin, I love Herman Holst's voice. He has such a perfect, soft Dutch accent voice for a podcast. It was so pleasant to listen to, and it just made me really relaxed. So if he says anything at E3, I will happily listen to it. Doesn't matter what it is, and then I will process the information and be like, oh, wait, hang on, that doesn't make sense, but at least it sounds pretty. Anyway, so a series of questions, and I've kind of succinctly put some bullet point notes. I'm not reading out any full quotes or anything, so feel free to jump in with any comments throughout. So he was asked, do you see single-player narrative games as essential to PlayStation Studios' console experience? And he basically said, absolutely, it's part of our DNA, but also said he wants to create a variety of experiences in new franchises, big and small games, just kind of different projects, and finishes by saying, who says multiplayer can't have great stories? So I guess clearly Sony, like we kind of touched on earlier, third-person action-adventure, single-player, narrative-driven is kind of their wheelhouse. But maybe hopefully they're looking to explore some new avenues, new creative things, especially in multiplayer, because I've said it before, multiplayer could be a really interesting place to tell a story. I've just not really seen it yet in a way that resonates with me. But I'd like to see that succeed. Yeah,
I mean, who knows who wants multiplayer focused games on PlayStation. I guess there's room for it. There's there is an abundance of single player narrative driven third person action games.
They've got that market covered.
So something a little bit different. He's hinting at he's not actually said anything explicit here, but he's hinting that they might be working on something multiplayer. Interesting note.
Basically, this whole interview is him saying nothing specific, but that's because he's the Sony boss. It's a PR thing. That's what they do. Next one was, how do you see partnerships like not first-party companies, teams that not first-party studios, other companies that they had then teamed up with, like Haven, which is the one run by Jay Raymond, and Firewalk. How do you see them fitting into the larger PlayStation Studios vision? And he said that there is a distinction to be made in that there's the ones we own, like Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Sucker Punch, versus Haven, Firewalk. He also listed Kojima Productions and From Software, who they have close relationships with, but they don't own them or anything like that. So he made that distinction, but then said that there isn't really a difference. That he sees them all. You're all PlayStation. We all work together. We all have the same resources, which was quite a nice way to put it. I mean, I'm not sure how much I really believe that idea, but it sounds pretty. And he reiterated that they are a creator-led organization, and so long as they attract the best creators and then can foster the best creators to make the best work, then that's all they really care about, which is nice. After that, he was asked, are you able to give us a snapshot of the total number of titles that PlayStation Studios are currently developing for PS4 or PS5? And this is information we have heard before, but he said there's a lot going on right now. There's more than 25 titles in development, and almost half are brand new IPs. The rest are franchises that PlayStation fans know and love. Now, when I hear that phrasing, that's partially corporate bullshit, like, oh, it's games our fan base will love, existing fans, all that shit. But then there's a little part of me like, yeah, but Metal Gear was a PlayStation game that fans know and love. Are you gonna do a new Metal Gear? Yeah, please, maybe get Kojima to do it, please. Thank you. That'd be good. Thanks.
Yeah.
The next one was, how important is new IP for PlayStation Studios? And here is where he touches on the Days Gone slip there, Sony Bend situation a little bit. It says, new IP is the lifeblood of gaming. You want studios to be fiercely daring and take risks, which is something you can debate about Sony all you like, because you can argue that their games are very samey. But I mean, there's some interesting ideas, even if they don't always land, a la The Last of Us 2. But I mean, that game is so wildly varied in its opinions. New directions with established franchises like God of War going Norse, so they want to change things up a little bit, which is always interesting. Games that probably wouldn't have been made anywhere else. That's kind of what he believes Sony does, so they're not going to get made anywhere else. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case, but they wouldn't be made with such budget, such production value, because that's what you expect from Sony, is the scale of it. Then touched on the Bend Studio thing, said that they are working on a new IP that they are very, very passionate about. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. But also said they're building on deep open-world systems that he developed with Days Gone. So whatever game Bend are working on, it's going to be an open-world game using some of the tech and behind-the-scenes stuff they established with Days Gone, which sounds interesting. It doesn't really mean anything to me. Could be open world, doesn't mean it's necessarily good, doesn't mean necessarily bad. Open world systems. You got to think about the the way the world reacts in Days Gone, right? Let's think about this, right? The way the freaker hordes move around, and like there's other factions that you can set against each other, so you can just like set a trap for them both and horde them both together, so you can watch them both attack one another. That's an interesting system that works well in Days Gone. Are they talking about that? And if so, are they talking about an open world game with multiple factions that you can play off against one another? I like the idea of that. And there's also even kind of more minor things, like Days Gone's weather is some of the... It sounds kind of like a daft thing to say, but it's some of the best weather in games, because it actually influences the environment. Like the freakers respond differently in sunlight to the way they do in cold and rain. If they're in cold and rain, they are stronger and literally hardest to take out. And then it affects the handling of the bike if it's all wet and rainy on the sludge and mud versus on the road. Interesting stuff. Kind of simple in concept, but executing it on a systemic level is probably much more complicated. Then carries on. How have the teams at PlayStation Studios been able to cope and adapt with these big challenges over the last year? So that's obviously with pandemic and whatnot. One interesting point he points out, Herman Hulst says, is the need for physical specialist locations for things like performance capture and audio work, because you can't just do that on a computer. You need to have a human being in a place, and often that's not possible. So there's some clever solutions like tiny recording studios in people's houses, which is effectively what this is. It's a space where I can record. Performance capture is obviously trickier, because you've got to make a choice between doing it later on in the schedule, which can cause different problems in development cycle, because the game isn't entirely finished. The outline of it, this narrative isn't entirely finished, because it's iterative, as you do a little bit here when it's ready, then do a little bit here when it's ready, and it doesn't always work out like that. Or the other option is to risk the final quality of the game by doing it differently. And then he quickly says, we are not going to risk quality. We ship extremely high quality games without pushing our teams to breaking point. Up for debate if you ask someone like Jason Schreier and his contacts at studios like Naughty Dog. But I mean, It's something he has to say. He has to say, we work really hard. We work harder than anyone, but our teams are all healthy and we treat them really well and it's all cuddly and fuzzy. Point...
he's going to say that. He's the leader of the gang. Like, he's the leader of the group. He is the spokesperson. He's the top of the tree. He has to say all the right things like this. Yep. So essentially, this is just PR. That's all this is. It doesn't mean anything, because if you look under the surface, you'll see reports that isn't exactly the case. Fiercely daring and take risks, he said before. Are they fiercely daring? Are they taking a lot of risks? Again, for debate, but that's a good PR line.
Exactly, and it sounds like a good thing to put on a headline. So Herman Toll says they're fiercely daring. And then he touches on two very big narrative-driven games he's got coming up. Being God of War and Horizon Forbidden West, and then says Horizon is on track to release this holiday season, but it's not set in stone. So currently, at least from this messaging, Sony is working towards releasing Horizon this year around Christmas time, November, December. But who really knows when that's going to happen? I still have my doubts, but I think PlayStation could be... I imagine they're very reluctant to let it slip into next year, because they just did the big state of play. It's been getting a lot of buzz, lots of views, lots of engagement, all that good marketing junk that they care about. So they need a big hit. Like a game, Returnal, people like it, but it's not as far as... Maybe I'm wrong in this, but in my opinion, I don't think look at Returnal and see it's a system seller. A game like Horizon is, because it's an established thing, people are excited for it. It's broader appeal as well. It's not a super hard bullet hell roguelike shooter thing. Yeah,
and with the gameplay being released last week, a lot of people are excited now. I mean, having seen how the game plays, how the world looks, that it's still Aloy. Even though some people are raising some grievances with how she looks this time, which is such ridiculous.
A nonsense argument. I think it's some people have taken that to an extreme. We chatted about it briefly on the Discord. Some people think Aloy looks a bit rounder in the face. I'm not even going to say that that's not true, because in some shots she definitely does. But why does it matter? I saw some people going so over the mark with it. It's like, this is all the Western devs don't want us to have beautiful women. I'm like, but she looks like a person. She looks fine. What's the problem? If she looks a bit rounder, so what? Like, I don't know. This absurd, nitpicky lack of logic about anything, but also over logicalizing everything.
Yeah. It's like, why do these people feel the need to have the desire to stick their dicks in fictional characters? I mean, it doesn't matter how much you desire to stick your penis in a fictional character. The game will play the same way.
There's one that I saw, and then a lot of people were memeing it, where it's like some guy complaining about it. The women aren't allowed to be beautiful in. We're not allowed to have attractive women in games anymore. Then put like a fan art version, which was just wearing loads of makeup and smiling and didn't look like a person. It looked like a cartoon. Yeah. I'm like, that's not the same thing. Anyway, this is a tangent.
It was a bit of a tangent, yeah. But in terms of how that game looks and the expectation for that game now, it's good news for a lot of fans who want to see it released by Christmas.
That is true. And he also said God of War is on a similar scale to Horizon Zero Dawn, but it started a little bit later in development, because obviously God of War came out after Horizon, so they've pushed it back. I quite like that. I think that's quite interesting, because the first, well, not the first, but the God of War 2018, it's not open world, but it's sort of open-ish. And if it's on a similar scale, perhaps it's going more open world this time, more traditional open world, perhaps. I don't know, that's just me speculating based on his language there.
Can you just clarify, on a similar scale to the original God of War, or
on a similar scale to Horizon?
Okay, good.
Sorry. So then they followed up with, how does PS4 factor into PlayStation Studios' development vision? Is it still a focus internally for future game development? So this is obviously, are they going to keep doing PS5 and PS4, or are they just going to drop PS4? And he says that this is the most logical point of it for me. It very much is. PS4 is part of the vision. You can't build a community of over 110 million PS4 owners and just walk away. And I think that's really it. I mean, everyone who's got a PS5 is going to want it to be the best game possible for that system, and building it for PS4 will limit the ceiling of which the game can achieve on a technical level. But at the same time, it doesn't make business sense. Not everyone's got a PS5 at the moment. In fact, a lot of people don't have one at the moment, whereas a serious amount of people on have PS4s. So you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't open it up to that market. And it depends on what the game needs. If the game needs much more technical, fancy stuff that the PS4 can't possibly do, then that'll factor into it. But if the vision of the game can be achieved in a scale which can work on the PS4, then why the hell not? I can understand people being kind of mad at it. I would love it if the game was just PS5 and then they could really go all out, but I understand it being on PS4 too. And he basically says where it makes sense to develop for PS4 and PS5, we'll continue to do that, and highlights that Horizon, God of War, and Gran Turismo 7 will all three of those will be on both systems.
Yeah,
like it or lump it.
That is interesting because the God of War, the recent one, was pushing the PlayStation 4 to its technical limits in terms of because there was no cutscene, no transitions. It was just like the single shot, and they had to fudge that with the way that Kratos like snuck through little bits,
lots of
squeezing through and lifting up boulders and then climbing and stuff like that. Just to ham fist that essentially
to
make
load
that
screens
work.
Or anything.
So the question is, how are they going to take that jump forward in visual fidelity and world building that the next God of War you expect from, without compromising the performance on PlayStation 4? That's a technical issue that that the team has to solve.
So long as they can solve it, then absolutely go for it. But if it becomes a situation like a Cyberpunk where it runs kind of okay on PS5 but is utter dog shit on PS4, there's going to be a lot of problems. We've seen it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Although speaking of console stuff, he also goes on to elaborate about PC situation. How does PC fit into the worldwide into the world view of PlayStation Studios moving forward? And Herman says it's still early on for the planning of PC and their relationship there. PlayStation will be the best place to play PlayStation Studios titles at launch. Now I want to call attention to that at launch moment, because that really sounds to me like everything's going PC, and that wouldn't surprise me. It seems to be the direction they're moving in. Even if it's everything on PS5 on day one, and then like 2 years later or 3 years later for PC. I think that's a perfectly valid strategy. A lot of people don't, which I'm sure we'll get onto. A lot of people hate that idea, the ultra Sony fanboys who think they're getting the short end of the stick, but I think it's great. More people can play games, which is only ever a good thing. It means more money for future development, sequels, and you can just enjoy it together. I don't see how it's a bad thing remotely.
Yeah,
he uses the example of Days Gone being 2 years later, and it's just new fans can enjoy the game.
Yeah, let's jump into that since we're here. A lot of response to this on the blog was, like, Sony, you're killing your brand doing this. You're alienating loyal fans, and what's the point? Because... I mean, the top comment on the blog post by Foxholo7 says, okay, so no more exclusives, only timed exclusive. You're killing your brand. Plus, Horizon, Days Gone, Death Stranding are all looks and runs better on PC than on brand new PS5. What a shame. And then he goes on to talk with a couple of people who responded to him. He says, PlayStation will remain, in quotes, PlayStation will remain the best place to play PlayStation Studios titles at launch, but we do value PC gamers, and we continue to look at the right times to launch each game. And then his comment is, so yeah, no more true exclusives. Everything will be on PC with better graphics eventually. And then he goes on to say, simple, they're killing PS5 sales. Why buy console if everything is on PC with better graphics and 60 FPS? I bought console for exclusives. Now I can sell it because I want to experience PS5 games at best quality, and PC is obviously better. The alienated loyal fans.
He solved his own problem there.
Get this. I do not get this. I want to play it on the best possible quality. But because it's on PC, I have to sell my PS5 and play it on PC now because it's better quality. I'm being alienated. Like, how does it, in what world does that make any sense?
Why buy it on console if everything is on PC with better graphics and 60 FPS? then get get a PC then.
Get a PC.
Why? I think this kind of blind loyalty to a massive corporation who don't need you, I think it's just absurd. Play the games, like the games, and enjoy the art, but why are you so loyal to a brand? Like, you're killing the brand. Why do you care? That's what I don't get. Like, what do you gain from that? If PlayStation kills itself, so be it. Like, the games will still be there, and there'll be other games from other people. I just don't get why you'd be so upset by that.
I mean, he's saying they're killing PS5 sales. It's a bit hyperbolic, but it definitely incentivizes me to not buy a PS5 because I'm a PC gamer at heart. If I know that I'm only going to get certain experiences on a PS5, if I buy a PS5, I will seriously consider buying one. For example, Horizon and Becoming God of War and whatever exclusives that PlayStation release in future, only to the PS5, I would consider getting a PS5 to play those games. However, if I know that they've changed their tack and eventually, if I have to wait a couple of years, so be it. But eventually I get to play on my PC, which is my preferred platform, I won't buy a PlayStation 5, and that is a fact, right? And there's a bunch of people in the same boat as me, and why he's angry at that is like, oh, you're not going to make all these money, we're not going to have these exclusives anymore, we're not going to be part of an exclusive club that we can gloat to and everyone else about. Is that what he's pissed off about?
He loses nothing. The game still exists.
Sony still make the money because they sell the games on PC, and apparently Horizon did so well on PC. Days Gone's only just been released. We're yet to see how much they're going to sell. But you can imagine that they've done really, really well. Players like you, for example, who've bought it on both of the platforms.
I bought Days Gone twice, but at full price twice. So Garvin, where's my sequel?
Yeah, that's it. So they're killing the PS5 sales, but they're gaining a shitload of PC sales. So the only point that remains is him not being able to gloat to all his all the other fanboys, Xbox fanboys, and say, "Oh, look at all the exclusives we've got. I'm in the better club than you." That's the only thing he's got that's valid to be upset about. Even
though you've done no work to get there, this is why I don't get brand loyalty. You've contributed nothing other than buying the thing, but the artistry of creating the game or the business acumen or anything like that, you've not done anything. So how are you loyal to that? Play the games where you think is best to play the games, and you've answered your own question, Mr. Foxhole. Why buy a console if everything is on PC with better graphics? Yeah, why? Why a PC then? If you feel that way. If you still want a console because it's a plug and play pretty much system, you can plug it into your TV and you're pretty much good to go.
It's
you don't have to
cheaper option as well.
Exactly. Then do that. There are plenty of advantages to a console, plenty of advantages to a PC. I'm definitely with you. If they're all going to move on to PC eventually, and that does disincentivize me to buy a PS5, but I'm still likely to buy one so I can have them, straight away. Because Horizon, I spoke about in the video last week, that gameplay looks great. It looks like a clear refinement of what came before. It's not hugely innovative, but it's just tidying up and making things better from what came before. I want that game. It looks great. It's exactly what I want it to be. So I don't want to wait 2 years for that. I'd happily get it on a PS5 and be able to play my old PS4 games on it, which currently aren't on PC, like, I don't know, Ghost of Tsushima or the 2 Last of Us games. So that...
Yeah,
I don't know. I just don't get this logic, and there's so many people who are on this kind of wavelength.
What he's missing is that this is a business decision for Herman Hulst and PlayStation, Sony, because there is as many players on PC than Xbox and PlayStation combined. That is a fact, right? The amount of people who play on PC now is just growing year on year, and it's bigger than it's ever been. So to miss out on that potential market, selling your games, some of the best games ever made, and missing out on that potential market because of some air of superiority. Oh, we want games to be exclusive. That's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. And this guy just shows he doesn't know anything about business, doesn't know anything about the industry, saying that, oh, I just want my exclusives, damn it. Just deal with it. This is business. Yeah. This is how it's going to go.
And the thing is, I'm not even really pro or against exclusives. I understand the place of exclusives in the market, and Sony won't be losing out on anything by doing this. It's not like they're giving them to Microsoft, who is their actual competitor, and even that's not even really the case anymore because of Microsoft's changing business model. Exclusives sell systems. If that's not their goal anymore, if their goal isn't selling systems, then just put it on PC as well.
Yeah, well, you look at the economics of it. PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Historically, these consoles are sold at a loss sometimes, even if not just turning over just a little bit of profit. There's no huge profit in selling systems these days for consoles because of all the awesome tech that gets thrown in there. If they can just open up their potential market to a whole, over double what the amount of people that own these systems, and there's no barrier for entry for them. The players don't have to buy a system when they've already got a PC. It just makes sense. It just makes total sense. You shouldn't be relying on selling systems. Just make the games, and people make awesome games. People will buy them. Make games available on as many platforms as possible. You will sell the most amount of games. It's simple economics. Anyway, I think that was a bit of a tangent, but
sorry, there is one more comment. I won't read the whole thing because it is long, but it's the same sentiment. This is from Andri9393. Begins with the line, "PlayStation is dead." What are you talking? It's about 4-ish paragraphs. I mean, this last one is so fantastic. People always said corporations only care about money and don't give a shit about you. But honestly, that statement always fell off in regards to PlayStation because it was not what Hirai or Layden made their customers feel in the slightest. This new Jim Ryan, Herman Hulst's PlayStation, however, really is a corporation to the core. A nasty, cold, disrespectful one that totally fits this description. There is a definition of someone chasing money at the expense of who cares for them. Above all, and no matter what, it's prostitute.
It's prostitute. I don't understand how this is detracting from anybody's experience playing games.
What do you lose?
This decision enhances a lot of gamers' game time, because PC gamers otherwise wouldn't be able to play these games. They're opening the doors for a lot of gamers to play their games. Nobody loses. A lot of people gain, other than these pissy little PlayStation fanboys who just want their exclusive club so they can brag to other people. It makes no sense. Who's being selfish here?
Sony will earn more money by putting their games on PC because that's an extra market that they can tap into, and that money goes to Sony, who make the games that you really like. That's more money to make the games you like. You lose nothing. I don't get it.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Anyway, there is one more point in this interview, which is kind of a quiet note to end on after a little ranty tangent, which is about Japan and the state of Japanese games within Sony's infrastructure. Another topic that's been out there recently is Japan. Do you feel that, from the PlayStation Studio's perspective, that Japan is still a big focus for development? Or are you maybe considering a shift to more Western focus for game development? And Herman Hulst said, "Oh no, Japanese games and Japanese talent remain extremely important to PlayStation Studios. I do not really believe any of that for a moment." He says it's strongly associated with our legacy and it's part of our DNA. Then names Polyphony Digital, which is the studio behind Gran Turismo, developing the best driving sims in the world, and a new studio called Asobi, I think you pronounce it, in Tokyo, which is a new team developing a franchise for all ages with global appeal. But I mean, it's not really though, is it? If they bought From Software, then maybe I'd buy that they care about the Japanese development market, but they clearly it's the West which is the main focus. Maybe Japan is slightly there, but it's the West and American audiences.
This whole interview is prime Sony PR. That's all this is. He was questioned by
Sony interview by Sony people, like it's an internal thing. People.
So they've decided exactly what they want to get across, and instead of releasing like a non-personal bit of information like a PR marketing thing, they've structured this information as a Q&A, which it isn't really. They've decided exactly what they want to say, and then they've structured questions around it so they can deliver that information. So this question where how do you feel about Japan and the future for Japanese games? It's all set up. Like there's nothing here. He was never going to trip over himself. It's highly prepared answers.
Yep.
They've gotten the message across. You could read into why they're saying these things more than what they're saying, because essentially they wanted to say all this stuff for very specific reasons. What the content of what they're saying is not like groundbreaking or anything, but why they're trying to say these things will be important for the future.
And like I said, it is fluffy PR stuff. I love listening to Herman Hulst's voice. He's got such a lovely voice, so I'm happy to let him give me this PR crap.
And there you have it. I think that rounds up our PlayStation info dump, Sony info dump. There was a lot of stuff because obviously we had the State of Play last week, and the back end of that, it's just the run up to E3. So E3, like I said, is just over a week's time. Nintendo also announced this week that they're doing a software-only Nintendo Direct on the 15th, which means specifically we won't be telling you anything about whether or not the Nintendo Switch Pro is coming. I mean, we've heard it before.
I mean, they're probably not going to tell us anything about anything, are they? I mean, is Breath of the Wild 2 going to show up? Is Metroid Prime 4 going to show up?
Well, they've got... they tweeted that there's two events. Like, there's the Direct... software-only Direct on the 15th, and then after that they've got like a stream, Nintendo Treehouse Live at E3 2021 they call it, which the 3 hours of gameplay basically. So whatever games they're talking about, 40 minutes of Nintendo Direct focused on just software specifically. It says that in the tweet. It just it doesn't say games. It doesn't say. It says exclusively on Nintendo Switch software. No hardware is in this Nintendo Direct.
Maybe it's going to be all about their new the calculator app you can get on the Switch for about £8.
Yeah, I see that. Three hours of gameplay of that for a tenner. Wowzer. Yeah, and then 3 hours of gameplay. So whether we will see any Breath of the Wild 2, we don't know, but that was another announcement. It's starting to get exciting now because for so long it's been so boring. There's been no news or anything. This big Sony thing this last week, which we've just digested. E3 next week. We've got a lot of things to look forward to.
We also had the Far Cry one, and there was a Dying Light one, so that it's all starting to ramp up. And I like it. It's good.
We like this because we have stuff to talk about, and
at long last.
It's not boring. Okay, this other little segment I've got is CDPR's painful numbers. Now, there was a conference call recently. CD Projekt Red's net profit hasn't been announced. Was down 65% on what they were expecting, due to them having to spend time fixing the game and the game not being available in the PlayStation Store still. So they've reported a 32.5 million zloty profit. That's down from the expected 80 million zloty. If you don't know what zloty is, then I'll convert it for you. 6.3 million pounds was the profit, down from an expected 15.4 million pounds, or in American dollars, that's 9 million pounds was the profit, down from an expected $22 million. Sorry, did I say $9 million, down from expected 22 million. So that is a huge shortfall from what they were expecting investor-wise. And in the investor conference call, company officials said the following, quote, "The general situation as long as we are not back on the Sony store has not changed. One of the leading marketplaces for us is not available, and we generate most of the sales on the PC/digital channels." So that speaks volumes. So I've compiled a few other facts and figures, 3 bad ones and one good one. 2 negative ones and 1 good one. Right. So ready for this? Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the most expensive games ever made, and they spent $313 million on making the game. $250 million almost on making Cyberpunk 2077. Although they have recouped those expenses, that's a shed load of money. The next fact and figure: CDPR share price has dropped 60% since the game launched. So the company is worth less than half it was when the game launched. That is a huge downswing in the share price.
I mean, I know nothing about trading or stocks or anything, but a little hobby of mine is occasionally just looking at CD Projekt's stocks line on Google, and it's never nice. It's always down.
Yeah.
Okay. The next really down today.
The next next interesting fact or figures is that the all-time concurrent players number of Cyberpunk at launch was 1 million players, all concurrently playing the game. This week, the peak concurrent players on Steam were 10,000, just over 10,000, right? Oof. And it dips as low as 6,500. So the peak at 10,000, troughs at 6,500, and that is a third of the amount of players that are playing The Witcher at peak, which is over 30,000 players, and that speaks a lot. Well, The Witcher 3 was 2015's darling, 6 years old game, and Cyberpunk is not even a year old, and it has a third of the players on Steam. That says a lot.
Currently, at the time of recording, just to get a quick live one, it is 8,463 playing 23 minutes ago, 10,874 in the 24-hour peak, and all time, just for Steam, is 830,387.
Yeah, I saw that 830,000. However, a lot of places were reporting the million. They cracked the million because that was the record.
That's across all of the other platforms and stuff.
And so they're all the negative numbers. However, the only number that really matters, the important one, was that $6.3 million. Now, $6.3 million is a very important number, and that's all they care about because that's the amount of money that CDPR executives are expected to receive in bonus. Yay! They don't care about all the shitty releases. They don't care that they fucked off the investors because the share price is down over 60%. They don't care that they fucked off all the players by releasing the game early in a buggy state and are having to spend loads of money to try and sort that out. They don't matter. They don't care that only 10,000 players are playing the game. They don't care about those figures. $6.3 million, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, the job of these executives isn't to make a good game. That's the developer's job. The job of these executives is to make a lot of money. And they have succeeded in that. So in that, when you think about it like that, yeah, they did. Maybe they did earn their bonuses. They did earn a lot of money, so they should get a little bit of it. But when you look at it in terms of you're a game company meant to make a good game, like hell do you deserve 6.3 million in bonuses? I mean, that's the amount shared across the execs, right? That's not just one guy.
No. It's 20 odd
million each.
Yeah, each. That's Kaczynski and Iwinski, or whatever they're called. Those two are getting. As reported, that they're getting $6.3 million. It's 22 or something for the whole team.
The pool.
And just for context, the developers themselves are getting anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000 in a bonus, depending on seniority. So that gives you a little bit of context. But it's just interesting to visualize them. You know, how do they feel about this whole Cyberpunk situation? Because their bank balance isn't telling them that this was a failure. Their bank balance is telling them that this was an unadulterated success for them. Whereas if you look at any other piece of evidence, any other circumstances surrounding the launch, the players and the state of the business of the company now, will tell you that this game was a failure. But so it's just the complete juxtaposition of them doing so well, having such bad results.
What I think is funny is that they kind of thought of themselves as the cyberpunks of the industry. They were the underdog before The Witcher came out and blew the world away, and now they are the corpos. They're the ones at the top of the tree, making all the money, and then the actual people down at the bottom doing the work. All right, well, enjoy your $5,000. I've got 6.3 million. I'm going to go have some hookers and cocaine.
Yeah, work on my next game for me while I'm in Mauritius or something.
Maybe I'll look at a spreadsheet once a week.
Brilliant. Okay, so that was just a short CDPR's painful numbers segment. And let's move on to the community segment of this podcast, which is supported by you guys. So all the content is supported by the community on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. If you want to support the content, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You can sign up, get early access to this podcast, get access to the members-only Discord, and ask us questions on the podcast every single week. And our eternal appreciation. We really do appreciate it. I can't remember how long it's been since I've read out some of the sign-ups, so I'm just going to go back a couple of weeks anyway. Matt Angulo pledged $10.80 per year. So thanks very much for your pledge, sir. Albatross pledged $5 per month. Really appreciate your support. And Zach Binkley donates $1 per month. Without your support, we can't carry on. That is a fact. So anyone who does want to support us, we really, really appreciate it, either on YouTube memberships or on Discord, like Patreon, like I've just said. So let's move on to the first community portion, which is the Metalshark quiz of the week. And Henry, I think you're reading because it's me answering this week.
Oh, jolly good. Right, hold on. Let me quickly get it up. Although, actually, my doorbell is ringing, so let me go and quickly grab that. Quiz from Metalshark. A quiz for Gaz this week on swords found in video games. This will test your armory knowledge from around the world and through the ages. Good luck. You know about swords? You like a sword?
Yeah, I'm relatively... let's see. I'm quietly confident about swords.
Okay, first question. The blade of Olympus found in the God of War games is a great sword primarily used for slashing. How many blade edges does it have?
For Blade of Olympus has, if it's a regular sword, then 2, right?
Is that your final answer?
Well, it's not a curved one, and they have 1 edge, right? Is it rate?
Well, most swords have 1 sharp edge and 1 dull edge. Not all of them.
Well,
even a broadsword, it's sharp on the cutting edge and dull on the other side, so you don't hurt yourself. But some will do both, but it's not the default to have 2 edges.
Great slashing. Two has to be 2, right?
2 is the correct answer. Yes. Most swords have 1, but yeah. Which directional mines found in the Metro series of games are named after a Scottish two-handed sword?
Directional mines from Metro series. They're also in Call of Duty.
Yeah, you don't need the Metro series thing of this. You can have anything.
That's Claymore, right?
Yeah, it is a Claymore. A Claymore is a massive sword.
Yeah.
They are enormous. So that's 2 out of 2 so far. You're doing pretty well. Which famous character's sword is based upon the European High Middle Ages knightly sword, brackets also known as an arming sword, a straight double-edged weapon with a single-handed hilt similar to the sword of Saint Maurice, or Maurice. Gaz can search for an image of the sword of Saint Maurice. Right,
okay, I'm going to do that. The sword of Saint Maurice.
Of Saint Maurice.
Images. That looks very much like The Witcher's. That's a pretty cool sword. That looks like The Witcher to me. It looks like the one that comes out of his... Has to be The Witcher.
Unfortunately, it is not. It is Link's Master Sword, apparently. Please note there may be others, and if Gaz picks one, it'll be up for you to decide if it's close enough, Henry. Pay special attention to the single-handed nature and end of the hilt and how wide the blade is towards the end. Given that bit of information, Geralt's swords are two-handed.
Yeah,
so
well, there you go.
I don't think you can qualify for this one, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
It is a pretty sword, though. It is quite handsome. So, 2 out of 3. Still pretty good. What is the name of the PlayStation trophy in Assassin's Creed Valhalla for getting Excalibur? Clue if feeling cheated. So, I will read the clue and then while you think, and I will decide if it is appropriate.
Well, it's whether I feel cheated. I obviously feel cheated, Henry, so you're going to have to read it out. You're going to have to read the clue out. You read the clue, you not read the clue. You've got to read the bloody clue.
Only if you feel cheated.
Put it there. You go to the effort of putting a clue, you might as well read the clue.
Why might I think you, in particular, would be able to guess this even without playing the game, whereas Henry probably couldn't, even though he's completed it? Okay, so I've completed the game and I wouldn't know it, but you haven't even played the game and you should know it.
I should know it because it's something specific to me and not to Henry. The only thing I can think of is my guitar lesson brand is Goliath, and that kind of fits with the big sword.
I'm going to give you a little more of a clue.
Oh.
Don't think that. Think, because I've read the answer think. It's a big clue, but think a Welsh thing.
Oh. A PlayStation trophy. Oh, is that a big? And
bear in mind, it's a PlayStation trophy in Assassin's Creed for getting Excalibur, and obviously Excalibur is quite famous.
Prince Arthur, right? Right, so Arthur's.
I'm trying to throw you as many bones without actually saying it.
Round table achievement. I don't know. King Arthur's sword. No. What's King Arthur's sword called? Excalibur, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the right answer, surely. That's the achievement. The achievement of King Arthur.
No.
Damn it.
The full answer is Deep Breath Henry, or cheat and get Gaz to read it. I mean, that one. See, that's what I said.
See, I
said it without saying it.
Oh, that's the Welsh name for Excalibur. Caladbolch.
Is that
I didn't even know that.
Is it just it's just the Welsh word for it. It's not even its own sword. King Arthur's not knocking about with the whatever that word is in Camelot. So that is just 2 out of 4. So you're back down to 50%. Okay. Dante's Rebellion sword is a magical blade and one of 3 created when the Dark Knight split his power. It's 40 inches long with notches at the end and has 45-degree guards. It's commonly referred to online as a longsword, but is it really?
So this is a yes or no. Is it a longsword?
I'm not going to let you pick. I know exactly what this sword is and the other ones.
Is it really a longsword? I'm going to say no, otherwise it wouldn't be a decent question. Is it really a longsword? Yeah, of course it's a longsword. It wouldn't be a good answer to your question. So no, it's not a longsword.
Do you have a reason? Because there's a full little explanation here.
It's a full guess, but I'm just going off the psychology. Going off the psychology of this question.
You get the point nonetheless. No, a longsword has a cruciform hilt, a sword shaped like a cross, whereas the guards on Rebellion are at 45 degrees, making it a Zweihander sword.
That was what I was about to say.
That instead of like that.
They are.
Fabulous. Dante's Rebellion is in Devil May Cry. There are 3. There's Rebellion, Yamato, and the Sword Spada from Devil May Cry. And my camera has stopped. How fantastic. I hope that's not been doing it for a long time. Probably has. Oh well. 3 out of 5. In Metal Gear Solid 4, Raiden has a katana, a single-edged curved sword. Are katanas, including Raiden's usage, one or two-handed?
The curved one, I don't know. Katana, I think are one-handed. I'm going to go with one-handed because that's just my intuition.
Your intuition has failed you. They are two-handed.
Damn it.
Because there is a specific one-handed version, I can't remember what it's called, that looks exactly like a katana. It's just smaller because it's designed for one hand. So that's 3 out of 6. You're still only on 50%. Come on, you can do better. Raphael from Soul Calibur is a French fencing expert who wields an English rapier sword. The English rapier sword is a descendant of the French rapier sword, and the French rapier sword is a descendant of the first rapier swords that came from which country?
Oh, French. Where did France steal it from? Rapier. I'm going to say Spain, because that's close to France, and I can just see like the... I don't know, some Spanish dude in his Spanish outfit with a rapier. I'm just going with Spain.
With that god-awful explanation, you would be right. The answer is Spain.
I mean, it's close to France. And
honestly, for the exact same logic, it would have been my answer too. I would have said Spain. Okay.
Yeah, who am I thinking? I'm thinking of the guy out of... in my mind's eye, I've got the dude from... Game of Thrones who teaches Arya how to the
Sirio Thorel.
Yeah, I can see him with the rapier, and in my eyes, that's where I got the answer from in my head.
Well, very well. Next question. You are on 4 out of 7. Cloud Strife's iconic sword from Final Fantasy VII, the Buster Sword, is straight, nearly 6 feet in length, and has a single-edged foot wide blade. Oh god. Is it a Paramarian, a Kurtana, or a broadsword?
I thought it said Pomeranian then. Is it a dog? Katana or a broad? I don't know any of these. I know broadsword. I'm just going to go with...
I don't know what any of these are.
Broadsword? Broadsword's a big one, right? So, like, it's a stupid shaped one in Final Fantasy, and it's just like a big wide one, like ridiculously
sized. It's a big chunk of metal with a
It'd have to be
handle.
made out of like plastic for him to be able to wield that effectively. I'm going to have to say broadsword as a guess because I've got no idea. I don't know the other two, so broadsword.
I've just Googled them, and even that doesn't really give me much clue. So this would be a complete shot in the dark for me as well. The answer is a broadsword, apparently.
Wow. Getting these
I don't even know. A katana is a blunt ceremonial sword, and a paramarian is a curved sword used by the Byzantine cavalry and inspired by the curved sabers of the Middle East. Well, there you go. It's just a broadsword then. It's just a sword which is broad, and that's all you need to know. Did you even get that? Did you get that one right? I didn't actually pay attention.
I did, yeah. It's the only one I'd heard of. Okay. Broadsword sounds big, and so I went for broadsword. So I was right.
Yeah. So that's
how many have I got
5 out of 8, I think.
It's all right. That's good.
We'll say that. Which country does the chokuto come from? It is found in Absolver with the flavor text. This oration sword is extremely sharp, but the thinness of the blade makes it quite fragile. A chokuto.
Which country does the chokuto come from? Absolver. So chokuto. I don't know.
These are very pretty.
Let's just say Japan. Guess.
Japan. Is that your final answer?
It is.
It is the correct answer. It's the one I think most people would assume.
I mean, it just sounds Mexican or something, but I don't know me. Chokuto.
It's very similar to a katana by the looks of it, but it doesn't have a curved blade. It's straight.
I'm guessing the fuck out of these questions.
It's very pretty. Okay, so that is 6 out of 9. One more. Featuring heavily in the Tenchu Stealth Assassins games, Japanese swords under the blade length of 30 centimeters or 11.6 inches are generally called what? It was originally used as a supplemental weapon for samurai on horseback who used a pole weapon or longsword in the sorry again, Henry. Fuck me. Kamura Moromachi. Kamura Moromachi period. Okay, so they use these short things, presumably short if it's less than 30 centimeters on horseback. Options are Kodachi, Tachi, Mahime, or Tetsubishi. So what are they called? It's one of these. Kodachi, Tachi, Mahime, or Tetsubishi.
I've got no idea really. I'm gonna go.
These are the little ones, aren't they? Because the samurai has their katana and then the smaller one. I think it's the smaller one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've got no idea. I'm gonna pick one at random, so it's gonna be a Tachi.
Your guesses have served you very well for the most part today. You have got that answer correct, technically, because it is either Tachi or Kodachi are acceptable answers. A Kodachi is a subtype of a Tachi, more accurate for what is found in Tenchu as they are at the longer end of the spectrum. A Tetsubishi, definitely got that wrong, is a grappling hook, and a Mahime is a large puppet.
Right. I nailed those. I mean, I should do the lottery today. I should pick some numbers out at random. I'm doing all right.
So all
7 out of 10.
So that's not bad. You got a few missteps towards the start, but you leveled it out.
Yeah, that's it. I did it. I'm happy with that. Thanks, Metalshark, for the effort of testing my sword skills effort they went to compile that quiz. I know it takes a lot of effort, and we do appreciate it. So yeah, cool. I'm happy with that. 7 out of 10. What did you guys do at home? Let me know. And with that, let's move on to the next question, or the first question, which is Mortal, who asks the following, addressed to both y'all. Long-time viewers may know this, but this question could be good for an excerpt. What encouraged you to play video games in the first place? Why have you stuck with it for years, regardless of its steep barrier for entry? Especially Gaz, Henry, Metalshark hooked you up. What drives the gaming passion?
I'm not sure this is there is much of an answer. What encouraged me to play video games in the first place? They're just there. Like any toy when you're a kid, chances are your parents are involved in what toys you have to play with. Yeah. And I had older brothers, so they had a PlayStation and whatnot. So I guess that would be the answer. They were just in the house, and I just gravitated towards it. I think it's the interactivity, and that's what I liked about it. It's like watching a movie, but you're the star. Like, how could you not want that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's the game. It's the playing. I mean, as a kid, you're just innately attracted to playing games or whatever. And I think that it's just a passion that stayed with me. And it's like the barrier for entry. I've been lucky enough to have a decent gaming PC throughout my. It tailed off around 2005 for a few years with starting a family and all that. But I've always been a gamer at heart. I've always, one of the first things I bought when I got my first full-time job was a gaming PC and and I think it was Medieval Total War. That was the first game I bought, and the first thing I paid with my first paycheck, essentially. So yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I've always been interested in, and I don't think it's any more complicated than that. It's something that you always end up gravitating towards your interests in life and things that interest you. So gaming's always been there. I've always been interested in it. I've always been lucky enough to be able to pursue gaming, and that's it. I don't think there's more to it than that, unfortunately. Mortal, I'd like to hear from you. Let us know if there's what encouraged you to play video games in the first place. Obviously, like Henry, I had an older brother. My cousin he was on a spectrum, but he used to program his own little games in BASIC. I think the what do they call it? The programming language was called, and he used to program these little like fishing games and stuff like that, and that was pretty interesting. Not that kept me playing. I just love playing games, and that's all there is to it. It come from somewhere deep inside of myself. That's it.
A calling.
That's it. Calling in life, and it's led me to where we are.
Got a selection of questions next from Future Proof. Once again, going a little personal. Getting to know you, part 5. All right, I am actually going to separate these just a little bit so I can read them a bit more clearly. Okay. Most underrated game you've ever played, e.g. low-ish review score on like a Metacritic type thing, or a hidden gem. The first one that pops into my head is just because I've been playing it recently, and I think it deserves more love, is Days Gone. It's good. A lot of people just don't like it, and that's fine, but I think that there's a lot to like in it. I think there's a lot to love, but I've talked about that at length, so I'm not really going to elaborate. Previously, I probably would have said Dying Light, but that seems to have actually picked up its audience a lot more, because I played that when it came out, and that was a proper hidden gem. No one really went near it, but it's had a bit of a it's had decent legs. I think it's found its fan base, which is great. So that's probably my answer. The most recent ones that come to memory anyway.
Underrated. I do think Vampire is underrated for a 70. Days Gone was a 60. What was it? 69.
68, I think, maybe something like that.
69. That is underrated for some of the stuff that I've played. They're definitely underrated. I think those are two decent shouts for that.
Okay, the following question is the fastest you've tried a game and quit it because you know it was shit / not for you, What was the game, and how long did it take you to realize?
Should I check my Steam thing? I forget these games so quickly that I
think that's
tell
the tricky
you.
one. If you quit that quick, it's not good enough for you to remember.
AAA game. I think I quit Nier Automata very quickly. I think too quickly. I probably should play that again. I'm not saying it's shit. I'm just saying that's just a game I remember playing and thinking, no. I can look at my Steam thing here, but there's just so many games that I've maybe played a little bit and then just fucked it off because they're so forgettable. Why would you want to remember them? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of any. I think it's 'cause if I'm going to buy a game, I like to make sure I know if it, as much as I can, if it's the kind of thing I'm going to enjoy. So I just have great taste. I know what I like, and I won't bother with it if I don't.
I've got great taste.
I mean, I know what I like to play, and I'm not going to play something that doesn't seem to me. Sometimes it's good to take the risk. Sometimes you find something you didn't think you would like, and it turns out you really did. But most of the time, I think your intuition serves you correctly. So I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that one.
Okay, I'm scrolling quickly. Okay. This is The Police 2, 0.1 hours on record. Above VR, 0.1 hours on record. Galactic Cruise, 0.1 hours on record. GTFO, 0.2 hours. Subnautica, 0.2 hours. I mean, apparently that's a good game and Skill Up loves it. But I only played 0.2 hours.
Subnautica is a reasonable one. I played it for a bit on Game Pass, and I was just like, I just don't want to play a survival game like this right now.
Yeah. It's SteamWorld Heist. That's an indie game, 0.3 hours. Yeah, those types of things. I'm not going to carry on because you're bored already. I can tell.
I am bored. Okay, next one is highest rated Metacritic game that you think is rubbish and why. And he's got a collection of links for PC, Switch, and PS4. Get out of here, Xbox. No one gives a shit about you. Yeah. You're all shit. For their Metacritic pages.
This is easy for me. You go first.
For it. Oh no, I'm still scrolling through these because I'm currently on the Switch page, and I'm like, most of these are pretty good.
It's going to be pretty. It might be controversial, but any first-party Nintendo game is overrated, hands down. Breath of the Wild 97, get the fuck out of here. Super Mario Odyssey 97 Metacritic, get the fuck out of here. That's ridiculous. Smash Bros. Ultimate, never played that, so I can't really comment. But oh, holy hell. 97 for Super Mario Odyssey. I get that it's a well-crafted game. Breath of the Wild has fundamental game-breaking design decisions in that game. 97. 97 for Breath of the Wild. What the fuck are they smoking reviewing that game? Holy hell. Are they just trying to avoid uproar or something? It's not a 97. It's nowhere near a 97. You look at the graphics, look at the open world, how it looks. That isn't a high fidelity game by today's standards, or by the standards of when it was released even, which is fairer. It's nowhere near a 97. And the fact that your swords made of metal in this game are made of grass or glass or whatever smashes upon impact. Ridiculous decision. I played a lot of it, and I like the open world and how it plays, but I didn't love it. 97, vastly overrated. Mario Odyssey, it's a game for kids. I get this appeal. It's not a 97. The gameplay's too, I don't know. It's not a 97.
Well, apparently, according to the Metacritic user reviews, there are 1,697 negative reviews. So a lot of people don't like it that much. Lots of zeros here, lots of ones and twos. I like Breath of the Wild. It's not a 97 though. I mean, that's obscene. It's not a 97.
It's not that I don't dislike it. It's not that I dislike it.
I like Breath of the Wild a lot.
There are broken parts in that game.
Mine is. I've certainly said it before. It's Bloodborne. It's not a game I think is rubbish. Really, I just know it's not a game I like. You know, loads of people love it. It's considered by many to be a masterpiece, but it's not for me. It's not because it's too hard. I did finish it. and I did. There's like a secret boss thing, so I made sure to do that. I managed it, but a game like that, if there's virtually no story to keep me going through, or like new mechanics or anything new, it's dodge, roll, backstab, combat over and over and over again against enemies who are really hard and one-shot you and stuff. I'm like, well, that's fine, but I need something to keep me thrusting through it. And for this game, it was just ego. It was I can't have any credibility saying I don't like this game if I can't complete it, because then everyone's just like, oh, well, it's because it's too hard. Well, no, I beat it. Thank you very much. There's a trophy on my PlayStation for it. It's a game I don't like, and it's unfair to attribute this to all Souls-likes, but that game burnt me on all Souls-likes. I now don't. It's not a genre I play with because it's just not for me, and that's fine. Okay, we've got one final one from Future Proof. We are already going kind of long on this podcast, so maybe we should crank up the pace. Yeah. Have either of you ever felt burnt out on gaming, either with a specific genre or gaming in general? If so, what was it that got you back into gaming again afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I often feel burnt out on gaming. It just in general, I think that sometimes I don't like to spend too much of my time in front of a screen. So I'm spinning a lot of plates in terms of my hobbies. So playing guitar, though I do that as a profession as well. That's one of my hobbies. Reading, playing games, keeping fit, all those things, right? If I'm spending too much time spinning one plate, then the other suffer. So what I tend to just back off, and like for a while, like for 3-4 weeks, I didn't play any games at all, and that just resets my desire. I've been playing non-stop Divinity 2 for the last 2 weeks, 50 hours in almost, and I've not done as much exercise and I've not read as much, but eventually that'll balance out again, and I just go through these stages, and that's how I kind of roll. About yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a similar thing. I mean, I think everyone gets burnt out a little bit, even if it's like there's a new game come out, even if you really, really liked it and you just binged it, you're like, this is awesome, I'm going to play it non-stop. And then at the end of it, you're like, okay, I think I need to not play a game for a little bit. I don't think I've ever been burnt out for a particularly long time, or to the point where I'm able to stop, because given this job, I have to keep doing something. And it's not to the point where I'm gaming, even though I don't want to. But sometimes if I'm not playing something and I know I could be, if there's something new out and I'm doing something else, I'm like, maybe I should be doing that. But ultimately, I'm gonna play what I want when I want. So even if I'm ever burnt out, it's only ever for like a couple of days at a time. And finding other things to fill that time can alleviate that. Like you won't be burnt out if you are forced to do other things, like go out and see people. Now that the pubs are opening again, that's been a decent portion of my life for sure.
See how he
gaming's on the back burner now.
That's it.
My body will burn out on consuming alcohol long before I burn out on video games. That's for sure.
Yeah. What brings you back into game afterwards? Just playing a good game. Like sometimes you're going through a period where you're just trying games and you're just not interested in them. You're just not bothered. But then you play a good game. It's like, right, yeah, I'm gonna have to play this. I can see myself playing it. Like Divinity 2 for me. I've been playing it for 2 weeks non-stop. So it's just playing a decent damn game, but there's not enough of them being released. Yeah. Damn it. But that's it. Thanks for the questions, Future Proof. Let's move on swiftly to Marcus Hicks. Hope my question isn't too late. No, it's not. What is your line in the sand in terms of what a dev or publisher has to do in order to lose your trust? And equally, what would those same devs or publishers have to do in order to regain it?
I don't even know if there is a defined line in the sand. Yeah, I mean, I think as a general rule of thumb, don't trust any of them at all.
Yeah.
Ever.
You can't lose trust if you never give them trust, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's an expectation of quality from certain studios. Not necessarily in like performance, I mean technical quality. Sony, you expect a decent level of polish because they're such a big publisher and they've had such a strong track record with launching games that are good to go on day one. I remember when talks about it a lot in this podcast, Days Gone, when that launched, that had a bunch of technical issues, which that soured a lot of people on the game, including me, but I persevered and I still found the enjoyment in it. But yeah, I don't think there's a defined line in the sand that will cause me to lose trust. I think trust is eroded over time.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything they could do to regain it. Even if they made some kick-ass game, I'm still going to be very skeptical.
I think trust isn't through your actions lining up to the things that you say. And I think if they come out and say certain things that I don't think is true, or they prove otherwise that is not true, that's when they lose trust for me. A la Cyberpunk, we'll release it when it's ready. It's ready when it's ready. Okay. When you release it and it's not ready, then that is you going back on what you said. And also, if they're promising certain things, or it's or when they're bullshitting you, when they're saying things that just aren't true, like pride and accomplishment is the big meme. We're doing this for your pride and accomplishment, not for our bottom line, which is essentially why we're selling you these microtransactions or whatever. It's all bullshit, and that's how you lose trust, by your actions not lining up to what you say. For a long time, we trusted CDPR, but as it turned out, a lot of what they said wasn't true. And again, they just painted themselves in the same light as all the other corporations, just trying to make money off you. We discussed it today, but I won't go into detail. But that's it. You back up what you say, and then I trust you. And if you don't do that, it's going to take a long time for you to regain my trust again. But I think it's something like, I think there's a psychological study from memory, for every one lie you've got to tell 8 truths to balance it out, or something like that. So given just a rough estimate, you've got to say 8 things and back them up in order to just cancel out one lie. So I'll go with that as an answer.
Sounds pretty solid to me. Just don't believe what they're saying, and then if there's any developers listening, don't lie to people. It's really quite easy. All right, we have one final question from Tons. So Sony now coming out that God of War 2 and Gran Turismo 7 are also confirmed as PS4 games. Is it fair to say Sony lied when they said we believe in generations? The Gamers TM were very quick to crucify Phil Spencer and Xbox for saying that from the get-go that first-party titles will be cross-gen for the first few years. And here we are a year later, and Sony is doing the very same thing, and they act like they're doing it from the kindness of their hearts, as if it were always the plan. Thoughts? What do you think? I think it's like I touched on earlier. Herman Hulse saying there's 110 million PS4 units. It would be foolish to just squander that potential install base and people buying your game. I think people are always going to be mad, and if you're bringing in Xbox and Sony, you cannot reason with a fanboy. You can't reason with a terrorist, and you can't reason with a fanboy. It's just, they are the same thing. Yeah, they're one step away from going berserk and murdering the other. I mean, I don't think they lied, because you can believe in 2 generations at once. I think we believe in generations. It's kind of it's a vague, sort of wishy-washy statement that you put on a T-shirt. We believe in generations. It doesn't mean anything. It can mean what you want it to mean. We believe in generations in that we believe in supporting multiple generations, because it says generations. Or we believe, it doesn't say we believe in abandoning one and just focusing on the other. I mean, I don't know, man. I think Sony doing PS4 games as well as PS5, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I suppose Xbox were a bit more upfront about it, but even then I wouldn't necessarily say they are upfront about it. They just said it, and Sony didn't.
Yeah, if you think back to the Herman Hulst interview and the information that we got from that being highly curated, and the fact that he said that for a reason, this goes back into that conversation, because he said there that they're going to support the 110 million people who've bought PlayStation 4. Why? Probably to alleviate some of the frustration around nobody being able to get a hold of PlayStation 5 right now, and that whole shit show, essentially. There are limitations on the amount of that they can produce. They've got manufacturing problems because of COVID, what have you. They've done fuck all to help the scalpers. They've done fuck all to help the gamers get a hold of the PlayStation 5. So I think this is, again, the PR line we're going to be supporting your 110 million players on PlayStation 4, because to stop people getting angry, and the other thing is because they've got so many people with PlayStation 4s, like I said, doesn't walk away from that. It would be a bad business decision to do that. We believe in generations doesn't say explicitly we're not going to support the PlayStation 4. We're not going to have games available on both platforms. So kind of implies that it does, but like these PR and marketing wizards that they are, they say something kind of non-explicit just so they can walk it back very, very easily in future. And there you have it. That's what we think about that. Thanks for your questions, everybody, and contributions to the podcast. Let's move on to the Not Triggered Fanboy comment of the week. This is the not sure what the fuck this comment is comment of the week.
Okay, so this comment, I don't know whether it qualifies for Triggered Fanboy or any of the other silly names we've come up with. I just think it's ridiculous, and it touches on some of what we talked about earlier. So this is from the Horizon Forbidden West State of Play video thing I did on Friday. From Good Luck. Looks, with a capital S, looks overtly lit shit to me. So that sentence is pretty bonkers. When I first glanced over, I was like, looks overtly lit. I mean, that's a word the young people say, I believe, which means it's cool. But then he said shit. What's he saying? Looks overtly lit shit to me, like Godfall. Godfall, a game I completely forgot about, but I don't really see your comparison. Turn up lights and effects and call it innovation. Okay, so you're just trying to say it's flashy. Then, also, why is she so chunky now? I mean, have you ever seen a real human being outside in the world? That Aloy is not chunky. I mean, arguably a bit rounder in the face. We knelt to that before, but anyway, what makes this is the final word. Unsub. What did I do? You know,
wow.
I love it. I mean, I could not care less if you're unsubbing. Our subs are really shit at the moment anyway. So who cares? What's another one? I think it's hilarious when these goons are like, oh, unsub. No, literally, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. Right?
Better off without you.
Well, he's complaining. The game's all flashy and there's no innovation. Aloy's fat, and that's now he unsubs from us because of that. I'm like, okay, fair enough, friend. This is what I mean. I don't know what this is. Is he triggered? Is he triggered by how quote unquote fat Aloy is now, even though she's not? Maybe. I mean, mentioning Godfall as well is hilarious. I forgot that was even a thing. I wasn't sure it had even come out, and then I checked, and it came out like last year.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a stupid comment. Overly lit and shit, and like call it innovation. I'm guessing this guy doesn't have a PlayStation, hasn't played the original Horizon Zero Dawn.
I've got nothing to say. Like, I can't even think of
that's it. I mean,
rebuttals or talking point. There's why what. Yeah. Right, let's move on to another comment before my brain melts.
That's it. What the fuck was that comment of the week? What the fuck was that? Okay, let's move on to other non-stupid, idiotic comments.
Oh no, I can't be dealing with that. Hold on.
I've got some nice ones on your Far Cry 6 one, right? Lab DG comments. This is such a good take on this nonsense talk. Love your work, Henry. On the Ubisoft admits Far Cry 6 is political dirt video. And on directly beneath that one was ENSIB Dumb comments, and then in quotes, Twitter is more toxic than any real world revolution, end quotes. And then his final word, just a single word, subscribed. Plot twist there. And so yeah, another couple of decent comments just to balance out the stupidity of the what the fuck was that comment of the week.
That's always nice. There was one, I should have really screen capped it, but I don't think it exists anymore. It was someone who said, I'm trying to find it, but I can't seem to. They said like, they basically hadn't watched the video yet, and the first half of it before they edited the comment was like, okay, let's see if you can, how you actually talk about this without talking out your ass about this bullshit. And then the edit was, wow, actually, pretty reasonable take, not bad. And I thought it was quite a funny little comment, but I can't seem to... Oh, no, here it is. There we go. I found it. From Circraze. Let's see. Depending on if you explain this honestly or not, I will decide if I stay. Let's find out. It's very, very hostile to begin with. He's expecting to hate it. Hey, look at that. You pretty much nailed the actual story without getting caught up in the literally fake bullshit. Cool. And then a little top hat and a that emoji. So his hat's off. Well, thank you. I quite like that. I don't like that you come in with this kind of animosity and expecting to hate it. That's not a good way to live, my friend. But at least you turned around. At least we spun you around to the light side.
Okay.
Have you got any more comments?
Yeah, I've got one from last week's podcast. I think it's something that I extract where we discuss in reviews of Biomutant. Nephilim FTO comments, one of the main problems with modern reviewers and gamers is that they expect the games industry to grow with them. When they were young, they played and loved games like this, but now it isn't good enough or hardcore enough. Not every game needs to be hardcore geared towards adults' experience. I have 3 kids and I love when games like this come out that I can play with them and give them the experience of playing a game targeted at their age. Good discussion, guys. I think that's a very valid point. We talked about Skill Up and how he just hated it because of it wasn't this and that. So I think that in terms of understanding Skill Up's mindset, this guy says that maybe he just expects the games industry to grow with them. And they just, like, there's a blank spot in these kind of child-oriented games now for them. They expect more from a game, whereas that's not what the game was like aimed for. So yeah, I think that was a good comment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've got that one there, but it's a bit positive. Positive comments on YouTube. Yuck. So we'll save that to finish with. I quite like this one because it's pretty emblematic of some of the dumb takes on the Far Cry situation. So this person said, this by Special K, as long as you don't play as a stupid Democrat, I'm fine. Now, obviously, this person is, well, presumably, this person is a Republican in the American ecosystem of politics. Fair enough. Believe what you like. Both parties are pretty damn shit there and here. The Labour and Conservatives are all awful, all of them. Fuck them. But I think it's people who have no idea what they're talking about, because this game is set in it's a fictionalized island that is reminiscent of Cuba, but it's its own place. Why do you think you're going to find a Republican Party member there? Right? It's the middle of I'm about to say South Africa, middle of South America, and there's a couple of other comments being like, there was one, I don't even want to read it all. It was like, oh, no straight white male politics in there for me. It was quite tongue in cheek, so I think that's he's trying to make a joke. It's not a particularly funny one, but he's trying. But I'm like, again, you're not white. You're in this fictional South American island. You're going to be Spanish, and then people being like, "Oh, you're playing as a woman," but it's like, well, you can pick your gender at the beginning. There's people who haven't actually looked into or watched the original gameplays or anything like that. They don't know what they're talking about and just spouting this presumptuous bullshit. And if it was only one person doing it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, all right, fair enough. But so many people do it, and I'm like, just for a moment, think about what you're trying to talk about and then talk about it rather than just firing off. But then again, this is YouTube. This is not what people do. You're not supposed to come up with an actual opinion based on information. You're meant to feel. And I thought facts don't care about your feelings. That's what I was led to believe. But apparently some people didn't get the memo, even though they spout that nonsense.
All right, so then my final comment again on the reviews of Biomutant. Tease says, I tend to be very skeptical about reviews that focus on the negatives of games. If there are massive technical issues, for example, Fallout 76 or Cyberpunk, then sure, it's an important factor. Otherwise, it's all just subjective. I'm not interested in hearing why a reviewer hates a game, because I don't believe that an objectively bad game exists. Every game that has ever been made will always appeal to someone. Just tell me what the game is about, how it works, and what you enjoyed, without poisoning it with your own biased opinions that a large portion of people looking to buy it don't share. Not aimed at you guys. I think Henry does a good, pretty balanced reviews in general. And that's just sentiments that I ally with. I think a games reviewers sometimes, I said before, they get too personal with it, and they're not just objective enough. So I did like that comment from Teese. Thank you very much for contributing that.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I didn't have anything else to say.
Well, I've got my final comment, which is again on the Biomutants reviews extract from Chris2349. It's a nice positive one to round my list out on. Great job, you two. Couldn't agree more about the points you made with only getting information from one source. Thank you for the content you're creating and keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much for commenting and enjoying. Thank you for being part of it.
There you have it. And that concludes our YouTube comments section. Let's move on to the very last section of this podcast, which is the bad dad joke of the week. Okay, Henry, what do you call a chameleon that can't change colours?
I don't know. What do you call a chameleon that can't change colours?
A reptile dysfunction.
That's quite funny.
That was from TheWitcherWiggle. Thank you very much. Marcus Hicks. We've got one here. Will glass coffins ever take off? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like the first one's better. That was you opened strong.
Okay, yeah, that was. There's only two. Okay, I got another one. Since you did like the TheWitcherWiggles, I've got another one from the TheWitcherWiggle. What do World Olympic sprinters eat? Nothing. They fast.
Yeah, TheWitcherWiggle's tickling me.
Okay, there you go. That's 3 for 3, and that's the end of this podcast. So thanks everybody for watching and listening this far. Like I said, if you do want to support the content, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming is where you can do it, or hit the join button over on our main channel on YouTube. From Henry and myself, we will see you again in the next podcast. Until then, bye for now.